Hello, my name is Laura. I'm 22 years old and recently graduated menswear at FMOD in Seoul, South Korea. I was born in Italy from a German mother and Dutch father and grew up in Scotland, France and the Netherlands. Being exposed to this mix of cultures and languages from so young on, I like to introduce myself as European. I think my interest in fashion has always been there. My mother is a very fashionable woman. She taught me to draw, paint, enjoy music and art. Furthermore, as my father worked in the hotel industry, I met a lot of people from all over the world. In this way, I gained a lot of perspective on people's values, cultures, religion, the way they dress accordingly. So how do people express themselves through their clothes? What do certain colors, fabrics, accessories mean to them? And what do they wear on special occasions? Freedom and culture are key concepts in my work. I focus on freedom by creating a flow in my clothes and without making it too hybrid, so that it stays easy to wear even if it's a piece of complicated draping. The interesting thing about creating a menswear collection as opposed to a womenswear collection is that in menswear you can't influence the male body. The male body is very rigid. In womenswear you can, for example, tighten the waistline to affect or influence how the clothing will look like on a certain body, but in menswear this is not possible. Men's clothing need to be very comfortable and they need to be well fitted. They need to be utilitarian. For example, have pockets, as most men do not carry bags or purses with them. Therefore, bespoke tailoring is such an art and I find it very interesting to work on. Yet, I set myself quite a challenge. Since I wanted to create male clothing without using specifically masculine details and flirting with gender stereotypes. Why are flower patterns feminine? What makes power shoulders in particular masculine? In creating the clothes, I wanted to be free in my approach and free from cultural stereotypes for males and females. And not to make it a heavy political gender statement, I focused on having fun in making the designs. A lot of the inspiration came from my experiences living in Korea as a foreigner. So a lot of the patterns, the colors, the special fabric development derived from colors I saw in Korean culture or objects I saw in Korean culture, but also from experiences in my childhood all over Europe. Manipulating darts and playing with patterns and volumes is something I've been experimenting with since my start at FMOD. I love what it does to the silhouette of a person wearing the clothes and how the clothes transform into something else. As my inspiration involved a lot of Korean objects, and in particular the Gwangju-ri, I became interested in round shapes. When you lay the pattern of these draped trousers on the floor, you will find it looks like a half circle. But when you wear the trousers, the pattern breaks. For me, this gives a double meaning to my design concept. Living in Korea as a foreigner, I often felt like I was alone in a bubble. The culture I had landed in was very different from where I came from, and I had to learn to accept all kinds of situations and behaviors I was not used to, and this was much harder than I had anticipated. The circle in the pattern being broken represented for me the popping of my bubble that kept me prisoner. It helped me to accept the things and people around me as they are, regardless of whether I understood or approved it from my own background. I learned how to deal and work with it. The layers represented different layers and levels of understanding you need to live a happy and useful life. I did my fashion studies in Korea as I believe the Asian fashion market is becoming increasingly important. Also, I see that Europe and the Americas do not have enough knowledge and understanding of these Asian cultures and markets. The same is true vice versa. So I felt I wanted to create a bridge between these worlds and integrate them more, which is why I came to Korea in the first place. Coming to Esma Seoul was the best decision I could have ever made. It's a very intense school, devoted to perfection and teaching us to give our 200% and more. There's a big focus on results, and I think that's something that I really needed. The midnight phone calls and messages from teachers, also in the weekend, giving us homework or checking if we're doing our assignments, was new to me and especially tough to accept and handle. But this devotion to their students and the work we do pushes us beyond our boundaries and makes you realize what you're capable of. I felt challenged constantly. I don't think my draping skills or sense of textiles would have been at the level they are if not for my teachers. And there's a real strong sense of community. Even now my teachers are in contact with me, trying to help me with jobs or even just for moral support. People are helping each other with challenges and celebrating each other's successes and being genuinely interested in you. I'm infinitely grateful for that. It's difficult to pick a favorite for me, since all the pieces have a very different story behind them. But if I really had to choose, it would probably be look number 4, the long coat with draped trousers and shirt. It was the look I worked on the longest and also the look that shaped my entire collection. On the coat you will see a print of a horse, and for me the image of the horse gave me a sense of freedom and development for movement. It's an image that is very reminiscent of my childhood, which is why I wanted to use it. And the colors and the flowers you also see in the pattern in the print is from Korean influences, the Korean traditional flowers and colors. So making the coat in particular was a real headache because I had to figure out the printing of it all. But another headache were the trousers. In the trousers I used this denim textile development, which I did with a fishnet, which I put on the denim and then bleached with a spray and then washed a few more times to get the effect that you see on the clothes right now. The fishnet also kind of represented the bubble or the prison that I was in, and the breaking of the pattern in that sense also represents my freedom. The fishnet on the model's face, the accessories, also represent all of this concept. For me, fashion is art, but art that is accessible and approachable for everyone. Because we all need to wear clothes, it's an uncomplicated form of art, and you don't need to study to understand fashion. You buy and wear what feels good, and you're free to express whatever you want with your clothes. Being a fashion designer means I can design pieces for customers they can incorporate into their own image and art, using different influences from history to culture to technology. I used a lot of inspiration from books for my concepts, but really it was all over the place. I'm interested in so many different things, and I'm able to use all of that in my fashion, in my designs, in my art. And if the customer likes what they see and as a result wears it, I think that creates a connection with the designer, and I think that's invaluable. I think that's what really makes me love fashion and makes me love this whole industry. Thank you very much.